Meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll use your clock when it's time to go to lunch and go home. Okay, good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to the April 3rd, 2024 edition of the Umatilla County Board of Commissioners meeting. I do want to remind everybody that this is a public meeting. We are being recorded via audio and video, and we are doing a hybrid version as per state law. Awards, recognitions, correspondence. I think you have.
I do for sure. I have a quarterly award for Employee of the Month. The Umatilla County Employee Excellence Committee was created to acknowledge and commend the efforts of employees who serve the citizens of Umatilla County efficiently and effectively with a focus on professional development and outstanding customer service. January, February, March 2024 Employee of the Quarter Excellence Awards goes to Felix Breda. Felix?
Oh.
Come on up. In that spirit, the committee wishes to share with you this nomination letter from your peers that warranted this recognition and congratulations.
Thank you.
Felix is always stepping up and helping in all aspects of the jail. He is constantly volunteering for overtime and is very helpful when covering other shifts, making it easier on everyone else. Felix has worked nearly double the hours of most staff and never fails to come to work with a positive attitude and gets tasks done in a timely manner. So on behalf of all of the commissioners and all of the Umatilla County staff and all of Umatilla County, congratulations, Felix.
Thank you.
Well deserved. You also get some perks with this, and it's not time off. Just kidding. Employee will receive 8 hours of PTO that is to be used within 1 year of today. The employee will be able to park in a designated parking spot until July 3rd, 2024. It doesn't say here, but you get to choose the spot. Employees will also receive a Umatilla County swag bag. So on behalf of all of us, congratulations.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Felix. Thank you, Stephanie. Look at all of that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let you keep this letter too. Perfect. As long as I have direction, I'm good. All right, thanks, Stephanie. Thanks, Felix. Thanks very much. Perry said go ahead and use his spot.
I don't know if I'd listen to Dan right now. We go back a long ways, Felix. I don't know if I'd listen to him. Okay. Did you have any awards, correspondence, or recognition?
I didn't know.
Okay. Any additions to the agenda? Okay. Right now is the time when we recognize public input and recognition of visitors. If you want to address the board on anything that is not on the agenda, now would be your time to do so. Let's see, none in the room and nothing online. We will jump right into our agenda. Item number 1, Justice Center controls.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mark Tanner, Facilities Manager, Umatilla County. Before you is the results of the RFP that we went out for the Justice Center controls. We received 2 bids, one from HMS for $304,029, and the second from Holiday for $270,0723. I'd like to proceed with the Holiday bid. Any questions for you?
I was absolutely shocked at the amounts. That's pretty standard.
Well, the jail is pretty far behind, so it's, mean, there's extra stuff involved to get it back up to where it needs to be. Besides the fact that, I mean, right now we have to call IT to even log in, and it takes them a while to get it logged in, and then it is gone the next day, so.
So is this gonna be able to merge and transition with all of the new IT that we put in during the remodel?
This is a completely separate system from that, so there's not really anything to merge with on that.
But they, that, what do you mean it's completely different?
It's, the HVAC system is separate from any of the jail control systems.
So only you guys will be able to kind of run that? Because there was some new HVAC put in
Correct.
and new
Yeah,
controls to that. So
because
how does that all
in the
work?
Sally Port area, we had just some Resner heaters.
Right,
And when we converted that into jail cells, we had to have regular HVAC, hot and cold. So
Inducting it.
yeah, so there's a new unit there.
so will these controls control that too?
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I was asking,
Yeah.
so they really do transition and work all together.
yeah, it controls all the HVAC in the entire facility. So
Okay.
The dispatch, sheriff's area, jail.
And then what kind of warranty do we get with this?
It's the normal, the workmanship is usually a year to 2, and then the controls, I think is a 5-year.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm sorry, you said it controls the dispatch center? So does one person control the dispatch center? Because I wouldn't want to be that person.
That would be Brandon.
Even with the new.
Oh, man.
Have you worked with Holiday Parks before?
No, they're a new company to us as far as getting a bid from. They are an authorized rep for Niagara, which is the system that we use. So I did call a couple of jobs that they've done, and people were pretty happy with everything they did.
Where are they from?
Tri-Cities.
Okay. I move to authorize contract for the replacement of the Justice Center controls with Holiday Parks in the amount of $270,000. $270,007.23.
Second.
Got a motion, second, any further discussion? All fair the motion, say aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Number 2, economic benefit analysis.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Walter, Community Development Director. The proposal before you is from the Economic Development Program is approval to enter into a contract with FCS Group for the development of a countywide economic benefits analysis. Earlier this week, you all received an overview of the proposal from Todd Chase with FCS Group. This work would include a countywide trends analysis covering multiple areas ranging from employment growth to business and industry to investment trends. We will also be provided with an economic impact report, and this information is something that would support county economic development initiatives, as it is often the information used during the site selection process and chasing business leads. This project came to us through a conversation with Umatilla Electric Cooperative, which is also in the process of completing a 2-year update to their report. FCS Group is doing that work for them. But in order for the consultant to be able to obtain certain data sets from the state agencies necessary for UEC's update, they needed a local government sponsor. And so they requested that we serve as that local government sponsor. And in turn, for the county agreeing to serve as the sponsor for obtaining that information, FCS Group has presented a proposal to do a countywide report at a reduced rate. So That's the item before you. Are there any questions?
Real quickly, the one thing that I have to say is I think it's incredible. I've been really impressed, Bob, with what you've brought back as far as economic development. For a short period of time, the community development has taken on that role. You've developed several programs, everything from the community benefits program now to this, and I think it all fits together in a very complicated puzzle, and you put it together extremely well. And I'm excited about this report. I think it's a first step when we go down that lane. Obviously, being involved in some discussions, that's a question that we get asked, and putting that together is going to be never soon enough, at least for me. So thanks, Bob.
Commissioner Timmons.
I agree. With everything Dan said, the only thing, Bob, that, and I mentioned it earlier, was that this is just one snapshot, one snapshot in time. And so I hope that we can follow up later on down the line. I don't know what they have for that kind of an option, but I certainly think that's important.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that, you're just adding on to that, this data that we've got, so.
Yeah, my sense after talking to them was that, this would give us a good baseline, and then we should be able to build off of that in future years. And perhaps that would be more cost effective doing it if we were to do updates where we already had the baseline information. Hopefully it would be more cost effective to do that. It's good information for us to be able to maintain moving forward as well, and so I appreciate your comments.
Yeah, and I like the idea that that's how you're looking at it, as a baseline, so, okay.
Okay, wishes of the board.
I would move to authorize contract with FCS Group in the amount of $6,000 for the development of a county-wide economic benefits analysis.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob.
Gravel purchase. I think Mr. Fellows might be online.
I didn't see.
Or is he not online? Maybe not.
No,
Is he gonna call in?
he was gonna try to, but
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, gotcha.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Okay, any questions?
I have none, but I would make a motion to authorize the purchase of 6,000 tons at $11 for public works out of the city of Pilot Rock in conjunction with Hatley Construction.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries. You again, sir. Chip seal.
The board should recognize this. We do this every year. We go out for bids for our emulsion for our chip seal project. We're going to We're planning on ship sealing a similar amount this year that we did last. And we went out for requests for proposals from the asphalt suppliers. We got three returns on our request, one from Albina Asphalt, one from Ergon Asphalt, and one from Idaho Asphalt. The Ergon Asphalt came in low at $510 per ton. I might add that this is actually $15 a ton cheaper than we got our product last year, and from the same company. So Ergon Asphalt comes in with the Tri-Cities, which makes it really convenient for us. So the department is recommending that we accept Ergon Asphalt's bid for emulsion delivery this year.
I'd move to approve the contract for cationic emulsified asphalt for the 2024 purchases with Ergon Asphalt and Emulsions.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. Number 5, DD Emergency Response Grant.
Good morning. Kim Beck, Director of Umatilla County Human Services. I oversee developmental disabilities and veteran services. I'm before you today to talk about an emergency response award that we were given by the Office of Developmental Disability Services, and to request permission to for finance to pay an $18,300.44 purchase of portable generators. So to give you guys some background on this, the Office of Developmental Disabilities Services had available to all the counties in Oregon, as well as the state program of the Children's Intensive In-Home Services, ARPA dollars that was specifically to go to helping individuals who have developmental and intellectual disabilities with emergency preparedness, specifically generators, power, in order to access the money. So in working with the Eastern Oregon program managers, I asked if they would be interested in doing a regional project. They were. And with that, when we went to the state said, that's great. How about doing the Children Intensive In-Home Services program as well? And then Tillamook County came on board. So we ended up having a lot more than the Eastern Oregon counties. It adds up to $850,000 altogether. It's actually broken out, and we will account for it separately per county. And so we're very fortunate that Lane County was ahead of the curve and went out for RFP for generator suppliers, electric supply, excuse me, I never can remember that. Anyway, and then emergency kits and to-go bags and that kind of stuff, as well as the health department had already worked with the company to get AEDs. So we have a lot of the groundwork for RFPs and the procurement process completed. We have a few cleanup things to work with Doug on, as far as smoke alarms, carbon monoxide detectors, poisonous gas detectors, and some things like that. So that's where we're at. And this purchase, this $18,000 purchase, is the first purchase of generators, and it's actually for foster care programs in Union County. We're doing a pilot with them to make sure that they can be delivered to the foster care providers in a timely manner, and it all works out before we order hundreds of generators across the state. So, any questions?
Do these have to be installed?
No, actually, they have to remain portable. They cannot be installed.
So they don't generate power for the house, they generate power for the appliances?
Yes.
Okay.
Or in most cases, it actually is for individuals who are on some type of medical device like ventilators and those kind
Sure,
of things.
gotcha.
Commissioner Timmons?
No, Kim, you always amaze me every time. I mean, so organized and, you know, partnering up with other people, and I think this is great. So,
Well done.
yeah, well done.
For sure.
So I move to authorize payable to Electric Generators Direct in the amount of $18,300.44 for the purchase of portable generators.
I would second that motion.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, item number 6, AWARE grants. Mr. Older.
All right. First, let me say thank you to Doug Olson for getting this last minute ad on the agenda today. The AWARE Committee, or Athena Weston Education Resource Enhancement Committee, met last night. For the 2024 grant cycle, a total of $50,000 was available. As you're probably aware, these dollars are generated from incentive agreements with the wind development companies, this one in particular with NextEra. As these projects age and start to fully come onto the tax roll, the amount of money that's available reduces, to my understanding. And so the amount we have available this year is less than what we've had in previous years. But we were able to recommend funding for 6 of the grants that we received applications for in the amount of $40,954. I can quickly go over those 6 grants. We received an application from the Weston Community Development Association for a project they have for banners for Main Street, which includes installation and some lighting. Weston Area Development Association is developing some walking tour brochures for the community there. Athena Elementary had a request for a literacy enhancement book vending machine for the school. Weston Middle School, new basketball standards for the outdoor basketball courts at the middle school there. Athena Elementary is working on a track lighting project that would light the track for use of community members during evening and early morning hours. The track gets a lot of use by walkers and different members of the community. And then Umatilla County Pioneer Association is working on a display and some photo restoration work. So in total, again, 6 grants for $40,954.
Those photos were actually damaged in the fire from the Long Branch.
That's
too.
correct, yeah. Good effort there.
Yeah, for sure. Comments or questions from the board?
Another great list of projects.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been on this committee for many, many years, even before I was the mayor of Athena, and they've done some great things in that community with the help of this project, so thank you for
Thank
that,
you.
Bob, appreciate it.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Bob, you didn't spend the full 50,000.
That's correct. So we're not required to spend all the money. Whatever's left over will roll into future years, and so that'll be available next year. I believe we had in the neighborhood of 42,000 in requests. There was one grant that the committee felt did not meet all of the criteria of it being a tangible project, and so we chose to decline funding on that one at this time. They would be eligible to apply again next year if they're able to make the application more suited to the criteria. So
Thank you.
With that, I'm going to take privilege, and I'm going to make a motion that we approve the grants as submitted by the committee and adopt BCC 2024-036.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you let Ann know?
I will, yep.
Thank you. Item number 7, health insurance.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jennifer Blake, HR Director. I'm here before you to submit a request to renew our health insurance with Pacific Source this year again. They've come in with a 3% rate to our medical vision plan and a 0% rate to our dental plan. Umatilla County's been very fortunate that our experience rating has stayed stable and they were able to offer us these rates.
That is fantastic. Any comments or questions?
I think it's huge, actually. And congratulations, not just to our HR department, but to all members of the program, all the employees of Umatilla County for working hard to get to this point.
Okay. I move to accept the 24-25 rate increase of 3% to medical and 0% to dental as proposed with Pacific Source for health, vision, and dental coverages and continue coverage through Pacific Source for county employees.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 8 is a supplemental budget. So with that, we're going to suspend our regular meeting and we're going to go into public hearing mode. And with that, I would welcome Mr. Paul to the podium.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Paul, CFO, Umatilla County. Before you, there are multiple supplemental budgets today and some budget transfers. I'll begin by summarizing the supplemental budgets. Budget Order 2024-23, the General Fund General County Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in federal revenue of $250,000, an increase in materials and services of $80,000, and an increase in contingency of $170,000. Budget Order 2024-25 General Fund Assessment Program requires a supplemental fund budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $10,000, an increase in federal revenue of $15,000, and an increase in materials and services of $25,000. Budget Order 2024-30 General Fund Public Health Administration requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $30,000, a decrease in state revenue of $350,000, an increase in federal revenue of $100,000, an increase in materials and services of $170,000, and a decrease in contingency of $390,000. Budget Order 2024-31 Harris Park. Harris Park requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $30,000, an increase in personnel services of $10,000, and an increase in contingency of $20,000. Budget Order 2024-32 Law Library. The Law Library Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in state revenue of $8,000 and an increase in materials and services of $8,000. Budget Order 2024-33 Community Developmental Disabilities Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $240,000, an increase in local revenue of $75,000, an increase in federal revenue of $27,000, an increase in materials and services of $27,000, an increase in capital outlay of $110,000, and an increase in contingency of $205,000. Budget Order 2024-34 Community Justice Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $160,000, an increase in capital outlay of $30,000, and an increase in contingency of $130,000. Budget Order 2024-35 Community Justice Reinvestment Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $160,000, an increase in materials and services of $120,000, and an increase in contingency of $40,000. Budget Order 2024-37 Economic Development Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $50,000, an increase in state revenue of $12,000, and an increase in materials and services of $62,000. Budget Order 2024-39 County Fair Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $45,000, an increase in materials and services of $82,000, and a decrease in contingency of $37,000. Budget Order 2024-40, the County School Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $11,000 and an increase in materials and services of $11,000. Budget Order 2024-41 Victim Witness CFA Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of this budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $81,000 and an increase in materials and services of $81,000. Budget Order 2024-42 Mediation. The mediation program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires a decrease in beginning cash of $20,000, an increase in materials and services of $30,000, and a decrease in contingency of $50,000. Budget Order 2024-43, the local distribution program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $1,727,000, an increase in materials and services of $1,400,000, and an increase in contingency of $327,000. Budget Order 2024-44 Central Water Project requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $5,600,000, an increase in state revenue of $5,400,000, an increase in materials and services of $18 million, and a decrease in capital outlay of $7 million. Budget Order 2024-45 Dispatch Reserve requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $80,000, an increase in materials and services of $50,000, and an increase in contingency of $30,000. Budget Order 2024-46 PERS Personnel Reserve requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of that budget. This requires an increase in beginning cash of $3,200,000, an increase in local revenue of $300,000, and an increase in contingency of $3,500,000. Budget Order 2024-47 Fleet Management Program requires a supplemental budget to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires a decrease in beginning cash of $250,000 and a decrease in contingency of $250,000. Those are the supplemental budgets before you this morning.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions or comments to Robert?
I do have,
Thanks, Robert.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That's all. I didn't.
I have a question. What's county school program?
County school program is basically funds that we receive through a variety of sources. One of them is a special payment in lieu of taxes for electric co-ops. That's probably the major piece we get, and a portion of that is required to be deposited to the county school fund and then distributed to the school districts within the county. There are 2 or 3 other funding sources, rail car tax rail car taxes is one, and there's a few other minor things. But the primary source of that funding is the payment in lieu of taxes that electric cooperatives pay. And the vast majority of it is assigned to the county school program, and it varies, which is why we were not budgeted quite right for it.
Thank you.
Comments or questions from the public, either online or in the room? Hearing and seeing none, we will now close the public hearing and go back to our regular meeting. And I will turn it over to Commissioner Timmons for the motions.
Thank you. Okay, so do I need to do each one of these individually?
Correct.
I do, okay. So I move to adopt budget number 2423. Is that right? Is that okay? Okay.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2425.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion
I'm
carries.
sorry. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-30.
Second.
Motion, a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-31.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-32.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-33.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-34.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-35.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Did you second that?
I did, I'm sorry. Trying to keep it straight here. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-37.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-39.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-40.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-41.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-42.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-43.
Second. Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-44.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-45.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-46.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt budget order BCC 2024-47.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 9, budget transfers.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robert Paul, CFO, Umatilla County. There are 7 appropriations transfers for your consideration this morning. In summary, Budget Order 2024-24, General Fund CIS Program requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $70,000 and a decrease in contingency of $70,000. Budget Order 2024-26, General Fund Jail, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in local revenue of $200,000, an increase in federal revenue of $30,000, and an increase in contingency of $230,000. Budget Order 2024-27, General Fund Victim Witness Program, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $85,000 and a decrease in contingency of $85,000. Budget Order 2024-28, Victim Witness Cultural Project, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires a decrease in personnel services of $60,000 and an increase in materials and services of $60,000. Budget Order 2024-29, General Fund Land Use Planning, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in personnel services of $35,000 and a decrease in contingency of $35,000. Budget Order 2024-36, Treatment Court, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in transfers out of $6,000 and a decrease in contingency of $6,000. Budget Order 2024-38, Nuisance Abatement, requires a budget transfer to appropriate funding not known at the adoption of the budget. This requires an increase in materials and services of $5,000 and a decrease in contingency of $5,000.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay.
Okay. But it's me again, huh? I moved to adopt Budget Order 2024-24.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt Budget Order 2024-26.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye. I move to adopt Budget Order 2024-27.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
I move to adopt Budget Order 2024-28.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
I move to adopt Budget Order 2024-29.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
I move to adopt Budget Order 2024-36.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
I move to adopt Budget Order 2024-38.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much for those.
Thank you.
County Infrastructure Fund Creation, item number 10. Is that,
That's fine.
did you want to do that one, Robert? I was thinking it was finance too, then he sat down and I thought, well, maybe it is time.
Before you is, in order to create a new fund, because of the funding we're receiving from some long-term enterprise zone agreements, there is a stipulation in some of the funding that it be used for development of infrastructure within the enterprise zone. And so we want to separate those funds, so we need a fund available to do that.
Thanks, Robert. I'd move to adopt order number BCC 2024-033.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Municipal Infrastructure Fund Creation.
So similarly, some time ago, we discussed setting up a revolving fund for cities around the county to use for developmental projects as far as infrastructure or similar things. We need to establish a fund to set those funds aside and manage it.
Thanks, Robert. That's huge, actually.
You too.
I would move to adopt order number BCC 2024-035.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, authorized purchase of property.
What's before the board is formal authorization to purchase property. Property near the Neotech site has been identified as a potential for a fair office. The property owners have been approached are willing to sell. And so what's before the board is the formal order authorizing the purchase of the identified property.
I don't have any questions, but I would be honored to move to approve order number BCC 2024-034.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Give that one back to you. There's a problem on the second signature page. Yeah, no worries. Okay, 13 vehicle purchase.
Handle that.
Okay.
What we're looking at is changing a motion that had been approved before from a Chevy Equinox to a Chevy Blazer. With that said, I would move to approve this expenditure of grant monies received by Umatilla County to the purchase of a 2024 Chevrolet Blazer in the amount of $48,000.
Okay, I will second that. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Well, that would be me. I am opposed. Can I make a comment on this? Did anybody read the op-ed last night in the EO about electric cars?
I did not read
Just a
that.
comment, okay.
I read it,
Oh, did you? Okay.
because I had all the time in the world.
Okay, speaking of which, moving on. Next item, Fair Board appointment.
This is, if you want me to, this is to replace Adney Wagner, who has done just an incredible job on the Umatilla County Fair Board, especially within the being entertainment liaison. And what we did is went through a process. He will be with us until January 31st or January 1st. We went through a process of interviewing candidates for the position, and the selected candidate was Michael Cuthbert. So I would move to adopt order number BCC 2024-032.
And I'll second that, but I have a comment. I think anybody that steps up to volunteer for these positions, my hat is off to them. That is a ton of work, and I don't think people realize how, and that's year-long in order to get ready for this event. So I don't know this gentleman, but, you know, I publicly thank him for doing this.
Yeah, they're not volunteering for a week.
No, not volunteering for a week.
And wait till his family finds out.
For sure. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 15 is state proceeding.
You want?
This matter is coming before the board to authorize the county to initiate a probate. This property owner is for property inside the city limits of Echo. It's near the old church there, and you may be familiar with it. It has had substantial code violations in the past. Some have been rectified, some have not. The property owner passed away. None of his heirs seemed interested in trying to probate it. And so the county does have some outstanding judgments against it. So by law, it can start the process for an estate. In this case, we can, as personal representative, could proceed and get the property abated if needed. And then also the Echo Heritage Association has a first right of refusal for this property. And they're interested in exercising that option and needs the state to do so. So requesting is that the county authorize the county council to proceed with initiating the probate.
I have a, first of all, thanks Doug for all the work. I have kind of a general comment that I was thinking about last night when I was going through the agenda. It's amazing how many departments, department heads, directors, managers go beyond whatever the foul lines are for the county and make sure that our constituencies are listened to and they're, if and when able, like Doug went way above what was called for to get this and make it happen. And I think we see that throughout the county from Robert, everybody that is involved. I mean, even with Robert and the large number of additional grants we've had in the last 2 or 3 years and his department being able to go through that. But I don't think you guys get recognized enough for exactly what you don't have to do, but do get done. So for me personally, I just wanted to say thank you. And this is just one example of that.
I agree.
So with that said, I would move to authorize initiation of probate proceedings to seek appointment of personal representative and to complete the probate process on the Echo property.
I second. I do have a question though, just a comment. So his family's been contacted, they're not interested in
That is correct.
okay.
But if we do initiate it and they want to step forward and do it, they can easily do it.
Okay. I have another question, Doug. Is this property right next to the Heritage Museum there in Echo?
It's next to the old church, is that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of that property kind of got taken out when, is his property part of that?
No, it
With-
wasn't.
It
It's
isn't?
like,
Okay,
it's
I
not
was
on
just
the edge.
curious.
On the other side, it's on the above side,
It is, okay.
but it shares the same driveway.
Okay.
Is that who they had first right of refusal because the easement with the driveway, or how?
No, because they obtained it from the property owner. He
Okay,
granted it
before he
before he passed away.
Okay, I didn't know that. And I also echo what Commissioner Doran said. I realize both you and Robert go above and beyond what is asked of you on a daily basis, so I thought those comments were well said. So, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, final thoughts, Commissioner Timmons.
Don't have any, thank you.
Commissioner Doran.
I have none, amazingly.
I will say, seeing how Monday was April 1st, I'm going to tell a funny. We were at Rotary on Monday, and it was time for announcements, and Jerry Emslin stands up and says, as several people in the room know, we've been in negotiations with Costco, and we're pleased to announce Costco is going to be here, and they're going to come soon, and the whole room was aghast, but they're, oh my gosh, when's that happening? And finally somebody says, somebody check the date, please. So he had the whole room bubbling.
Only Jerry could do
Yeah, it was, and he did it well. So, all right, with that, we are